Hi, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Christina Lynch from Vacationport, and I'm going to be walking you through the layout and row options in NexCite to create compelling pages. So before you even start with a page layout, the first thing you need to determine is what purpose your page is serving. Is it an instructional page for customers, giving them travel and packing tips? Is it a page talking about your specialties and what benefit each one has? Keep each page dedicated to a single purpose or category. This will help keep your site organized and make it easier for site visitors to find exactly what they're looking for. Next, take stock of what content you have for the page. You don't have to have everything ready yet, but at least get a good idea of what you want to have on the page as far as images, text, or other content, and about how much space it will take up. Start grouping the content you have to keep related things together. And either literally on a piece of paper or paint or something along those lines, or within your mind, start thinking about how you can stack your different groupings vertically. Website page layouts are easiest to navigate this way, as a site visitor should be able to see a full row all at once without having to continuously scroll up and down. When you add a new page to your NexCite, you'll be given three different options. The new blank page option is best if you already have a layout in mind, or you get distracted with other content, so don't want to have something on there that already has things in it. Think of this option as your blank canvas. The new from model page option is best if you want to start off with a pre-made layout and work from there. It's especially useful if you feel totally at a loss of how to start and want to see some examples of how content can be grouped together. The new from existing page option is best for reusing a layout you've already created. Although you do want some variety in your page layouts, sometimes it does make sense to reuse a layout for the similar types of pages, like pages for a group trip or specialties or things along that nature. If you select the option for a new blank page, you'll be given several different layouts to choose from. Layouts will be described with rows and columns. For example, the very first option would be considered a single row with a single column. You can always add rows above, between, or below other rows, so don't feel like you have to get it perfect here. Select your layout based on the size of the content you've prepared for your page. Consider the amount of text you want to add and the orientation of the image you want to use. You can always change your page layout later as well. So if you decide once you start adding your content that you want to try something a little bit different, you can easily make that switch. Here I have a very simple page layout where I've added text boxes to each block and labeled them with what row and column they are. You can see on the top row, it's a single column. On the bottom row, I have two columns. When you're ready to add a new column, there are several ways you can do that. You'll find buttons at the top and bottom of the page, and one on each of the existing rows. If you select the Add Row button on an existing row, it will add the new row beneath that one. Once a button is selected to add a new row, you'll be able to select from different layouts for that row. If you have an especially large amount of text you want to add to a page, consider breaking it up into different paragraphs. This helps your site visitor from getting overwhelmed. Sometimes you'll find that you want to reorganize your page by moving sections or by wiping a section altogether. To do either, you'll want to select the Manage option on the top right of a section. If you select Clear, the content within your section will be removed. If you select Move, you'll be given the option of swapping that section you're in with another on your page. Now let's look at the settings you'll have on your rows. You'll find a Manage Row button at the top right of your row. This will allow you to change the width of your row and set a background color. Using a combination of interspersing 100% rows with image or color backgrounds can help your layout pop and give a natural feeling separation between your sections. Now, there is one word of caution I'll share when using a full width row, as things like text can start to look pretty strange on different media types, like really wide monitors. The last piece you'll want to make sure you take advantage of and use when perfecting your page layouts is found within the section settings. To get to it, select the Edit button on the top left of the section you want to change. This is the same button you would use normally to edit that section. In the Basics area at the top, there's an option for padding. The default padding amount is 15 pixels, but you'll likely find that you want more than that. You can also make it so that each side of your section has different padding by checking the box that says Use separate padding values. Increasing the padding of your sections helps create white space. Now, that doesn't literally mean that it's white. It just means it's going to be basically an area that's free of other content. Having adequate white space will give you a more modern design and help your page from looking cluttered. Let's look at a couple of examples that combine the different options that we went through. On these examples in particular, I wanted to point out the alternating row types. On the one on the left, it starts with a single column that's set to 100% width. Then it switches to a cards module using the auto width setting, and then switches back to another 100% row, but this time with 2 columns. There's a blank section added between that row and the images at the bottom, with plenty of padding to balance content and white space. One thing you can do too is to try mixing and matching by alternating images in text, like the example on the left. So you can see how once it starts off about in the middle, on the left-hand side, it has text, on the right it has an image, and then on the next row underneath that it switches. On the right-hand example, you'll notice that there isn't a huge variety of the type of content, but because of the large padding between each section, it still keeps the page feeling balanced. I have a couple of tips for making sure you can create fantastic layouts. Some of this is going to be just a review of what we just went over. So use a variety of different types of rows and columns throughout your page. And don't forget that many of the modules we provide have different display settings, which can be very helpful with this. So don't forget to check out the different display options within them. Create dividers using 100% wide rows and add a solid color or an image background to them. Use padding to keep plenty of white space and allow your page to breathe. There is no limit to the length of your page, so there's no need to try and cram everything in at the top. Keep everything looking cohesive by using consistent padding throughout. You also want to make sure that you're using consistent font and text sizes. If you run into any problems or get stuck on anything, we are so happy to help you. Okay, we have some really good questions. So one of the questions was, can you explain more on padding? I absolutely can. So you can think of it almost like if you imagine a picture frame that has the like that kind of cardboard frame around the picture frame within the frame, that's kind of like what padding is. So it's just making sure you have some blank space between the outer sides of the section and whatever's inside the section. I love this question. How can I get my layout to work on a mobile device? So far, I have not been able to get the mobile to look good. Love this question so much, and it is so important to make sure that your layouts also look good on mobile devices. So what you'll want to keep in mind when you're designing your page layout is that the way the different sections and rows and columns are created is meant to actually stack, which means, for example, if you have a row with 2 columns, so we'll say you have a left column and a right column, it will show both of those side by side on a wider device like a computer, But then when you go to a mobile device, the left column will actually move to the top of the right column. So instead of being two columns, now you actually have them as two different rows. There are some tricky things to keep in mind though. So you want to make sure that if you're using images, you're not using static widths on those. So don't put in a specific pixel amount. You'll want to stick to using using percentages instead. And there's some other things as well. So if you do run into a scenario where it looks good on desktop, but you can't quite get it right on mobile, definitely reach out to us and we can help you out with that. And you will see that when you're looking at your page, if you hover over the preview option, you'll have the option to look at it as it would look on a desktop or to preview what it would look like on a mobile device. So it's always good when you're going through creating your page to preview it and switch back and forth between those two views to make sure it'll look really good on either one. Okay, perfect. It looks like we've run out of questions. So everybody again for joining me today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.